watching Investors Guide on ET Now. Thanks for tuning in this week. We have a good show lined up for you today. We're going to answer some questions, plan a portfolio of one of the viewers who've written in, and we'll also answer the questions you sent in during the week. Now remember, there's an email ID at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to get in touch with us if you need any help with your finances. Before I talk to you about what we're doing over the next half hour, I have a releases coming from the RBI, and the RBI has decided that checks, drafts, pay orders, and bankers' checks that were up till now valid for 6 months will only be valid for 3 months going forward. Now, the good thing about this release is that it's only going to be in effect from 1st of April 2012. So that's the 1st of April next year, when checks that you receive or that you write out will only be valid for 3 months and not for 6 months. Now that we've got that out of the way, this is what we're doing over the next half hour. We're going to help a 40-year-old build a mutual fund portfolio from scratch. It's never too late to get started. On Big Fund this week, we review the Franklin India Flexi Tax Fund. And in our last segment, we'll answer your tax-related questions. Do you need to pay tax on money that you inherit? We'll find out later on the show. Well, it's time for me to bring in Virendra Kumar, the CEO of Value Research and our in-house mutual fund expert who speaks exclusively to Investors Guide every week. Virendra, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Let's get straight to our portfolio versus portfolio segment. Well, Partha Sen has written in from Delhi. He tells us he's 40 years old and he makes 60,000 rupees a month after tax. Then his monthly expenses are about 10,000 rupees. He also pays EMIs on his personal and his auto loan. Interestingly, Virendra, he took a personal loan to buy property. I don't know how wise a decision that would have been. He tells us he has about 1 lakh rupees savings in PPF and he's invested in 8 life insurance policies, 7 of which are from LIC. Now, if we deduct all of these expenses from his salary, he would have about 3 lakh rupees left to invest every year. And he owns a home in Delhi and he supports his wife and his 2 daughters. And he has medical insurance from his company, although he wants to buy another policy right now. He wants to know what he can do to manage his money for the future of his family. Now, he obviously doesn't have too much of a mutual fund portfolio. In fact, he has one fund in which he puts some money in to save tax. So he's starting late. But is it too late for him to start? Can a 40-year-old now begin a mutual fund portfolio?
It's never too late. And it's about time, he should. But even before starting, his new portfolio and channelizing his investment into mutual fund or anything else, I think his existing portfolio, his existing investment or all that he has been saving through these life insurance policies and the units, I think he should go about, he should revisit these and try and unlock them. And it's about time he looks at all his finances more methodically. For example, I would say that he requires no fixed income investment. He has his PF deduction happening with his employer. And after that, all he requires is, a medical insurance, a term cover, and all the residual money should go towards an investment portfolio, and that's about it.
But Virendra, if you were to start him off on a mutual fund portfolio, among the portfolios that you've designed for us, which one would you recommend for Partha?
For somebody getting started, and apparently looks like his preference for life insurance policy and primarily LIC, I would say that he is still not a very aggressive kind. That's just my assumption. And based on that, I would suggest him a stable growth portfolio.
A stable growth portfolio, Partha, is flashing on your screen. This is for someone who's not very aggressive and doesn't want to take very aggressive risks in the equity market. Start off with this. And then, of course, keep in touch with us and we'll let you know how you're doing and what you should do going forward as well. Our next question is part of our hold or sell segment. The 26-year-old Sogata has written in from Kolkata. He tells us his investment horizon is 10 to 15 years and he wants to know whether he should opt for the growth or the dividend option. We're going to come back to that later. But he first tells us that he wants to trim down his portfolio to about 5 or 6 funds. Now, he wants to know which funds he should hold on to, where he should be moving his money, and how he should go forward. Now, before I go into his individual list of funds, I want to just ask you, for viewers who are watching, and we know this happens a lot, they wind up with a portfolio of 10, 20, maybe sometimes 30 funds, and they want to be able to trim that down to 5 or 6 funds. So, if I have any more than 5 or 6 funds in my portfolio, how do I go about trimming it down? How do I decide what to keep and what not to keep? Can you give us a few pointers that we can look at?
Yeah, there are very clear ways of approaching it. One is that when you go for a mutual fund, of course, I'm assuming that you have taken care of the basic rule that you are not getting into any thematic fund or any sectoral fund. You are into generic equity fund. Then comes, your own risk tolerance. If you get extremely upset with a big decline in value, or then there I would suggest that you choose a set of funds which is more broad spectrum, in a sense that a fund which is a multi-cap fund or a large and mid-cap fund, where the fund manager himself is taking a call and has a broader mandate. If you can withstand an interim decline, and if you are investing for many years, in his case 10-15 years, the other way of approaching it is having a tilt towards mid and small cap portfolios, and that is something which should prove more rewarding.
So let's look at now Saugata's question. He's 26 and he has 10 or 15 years on his hands. So we're going to assume, Virendra, that he wants aggressive returns because that's what he can aim for with that kind of time on his hands. The first on his list is the Franklin India Prima Plus. Would you suggest he continues investing in this one?
No, if we are looking at a very aggressive portfolio, it may not be the finest choice, but yes, it's a large and mid-cap fund and an impressive one at that.
All right, I'm going to take the next two funds together. There's HDFC Top 200 and there's HDFC Equity. We see this a lot. Both of these funds pop up in the same portfolio. For someone with an aggressive outlook, which of the two would you recommend he holds on to?
I would say that, even these two funds, they are aggressive, but they are not as aggressive. If I have to, ICICI Prudential Focused Blue Chip Equity has a limited history. It has done exceedingly well with a large cap portfolio. So I would not say that it's an aggressive portfolio. The fund is impressive, but not an aggressive one.
What about Fidelity Equity, Virendra? Continue investing in that one?
Yes, similarly, this is another fund which is fairly broad, I would say fairly well diversified, and not an aggressive fund. It's an impressive fund, not an aggressive fund. So if we are thinking of, tilting the whole portfolio to be aggressive here, he can take chances, he has time on his side. These are not the ones.
And ICICI Prudential Dynamic is the next on his list. This is an aggressive fund. Would you continue investing in this one?
Yes, it is an aggressive fund, and it is aggressive from a different standpoint. It takes allocation bets, and by its design, it can go wrong or it can go substantially right. And but by its portfolio design, it is once again not an aggressive fund. This fund is so focused on its sectoral, its allocation bets are primarily to protect downside.
All right, the next on his list is also an ICICI Prudential fund. This is the Discovery Fund, Virendra. Continue investing in this?
Yes, this is an aggressive portfolio. This is a fund which will be hugely rewarding and can be extremely disappointing for a prolonged period of time, like we are in the middle of right now.
IDFC Premier Equity is the next on his list. Continue investing in this one as well?
Yes, this one again, as of now, it is a mid and small cap portfolio, but it can change colors. It's an outstanding fund. It's a very impressive fund so far.
All right, Reliance Equity Opportunities is the next on his list. Invest in this one as well?
Yes, it's the kind of fund which will tilt its portfolio to emphasize specific things in the portfolio, and it has done it very well. It is among the few, better performing Reliance funds, and fits in with the kind of tilt we want in this portfolio.
The next fund as well, HDFC Mid-Cap Opportunities, is also an aggressive fund that invests in mid-caps and small caps. Would you recommend that he holds on to this fund?
Yes, this is an outstanding mid-cap fund. Completed its 3 years, and this should prove to be the most rewarding selection of the ones we are suggesting.
All right, and the last on his list is UTI Dividend Yield. This is a strong performer, Virendra, but does it fit into the mandates that we have for this portfolio? Would you recommend he holds on to it?
No, not really. UTI Dividend Yield is a very impressive fund, but it's a very conservative equity fund. And also its ability to withstand by its design, its focus on dividend yield. So by its design, it never takes a severe beating in a declining market, and that is what has brought it to its prominence. So I would say it's not a great fit of the kind of portfolio we are trying to construct here.
All right, Saugata, so that leaves you with a very aggressive portfolio personally designed by Virendra Kumar. Virendra, he has one quick question. He wants to know now, should he be opting for the growth or the dividend option? Obviously, with such a long-term horizon, and you've said this before, that the growth option works better, but can you take us through why one last time?
It should be the growth option, simply because, right now there is no difference but avoid the dividend or the dividend reinvestment option because, DTC provides for a dividend distribution tax on dividend paid even from equity funds. So it will not be tax-free. Besides that, I think the logical reason why it should be growth that, you are trying to accumulate a substantial sum. And if you get the dividend, the onus is on you to reinvest it. So it doesn't make sense.
So remember, you have to pick the growth option and you have to go on with that aggressive portfolio that will give you the best returns provided you maintain that 10 to 15 year horizon that you wrote in about. We have one quick question in this segment. Santosh has written in. He tells us he saves 5,000 rupees a year and he wants that to grow into 15 lakh rupees at the end of 6 years so he can build a home in Mangalore. He wants to know where he should be investing his money.
It's a very, modest expectation. Even 8% return will help him achieve the amount he is trying to accumulate in 6 years' time. So I don't think, if he is very focused on the goal, even a bank recurring deposit will do. But I would suggest that, given the state of the market, he should seriously, he should consider getting into the growth plan of an MIP, and he should do his regular investing there. Maybe his what he plans to do in 6 years' time, maybe it can be achieved a little earlier.
All right, Santosh, we hope that answer helps. Write back to us if you need anything else. Remember, if you have questions for Dhirendra, there's an email ID at the bottom of your screen where you can get in touch with us. Coming up after the break, we're going to review the Franklin India Flexi Cap Fund. Don't go anywhere.